And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
It says I'm recording.
Shoot me out of a cannon, Matthew. You did
the slower version.
Annie, are you okay?
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Are you okay, Annie?
Are you okay, Annie?
You are listening to Annie, Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast. Why am I leaning down?
Star Wars podcast. I am your co-hostess with the most hostess, Mikey C from the 123, aka the 215. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're back to the future. Ooh. That's right. Heal yourselves up because you're about to get hit with a 123 from Maddie Porter, aka
Maddie McFly. If we back to the future.
We are back to the future. The Rogue One, the Rogue Only, Smack Talker Skywalker,
Broby One Kenobi,
the main man,
aka you was about go ahead,
the Gray Hoodie Gang.
Yeah, there you go. He knows the aliases.
I do know the aliases. I am also Darth Plagueis the Rewise. Be kind, Rewise. I don't know. We're doing things out here. Just I said shoot me out of a cannon. Spell that CANON.
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Because it's part of the real timeline.
It is part of the real timeline. That's right. We're out here to talk about the Skywalker Saga.
An episode that we've been teasing for so many months.
We have maybe teased this episode 1, 2, 3, 4, however many times every episode of The Acolyte and every episode of Skeleton Crew has been.
We
and then like the 5 or 6 in between.
We teased it 3 times, waited 25 years, teased it 3 more times, waited 15 more years, and then teased it 3 more times.
So like there was like an original teasing, and then there was like a prequel teasing, and then a sequel teasing. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. We're hitting all the trilogies here. Yeah. So real quick before we dive into this whole thing, what's happening today? Hyper dive, right? Yeah, punch it, dude. We're doing Matt's Skywalker Saga subjective ranking.
Yes, sir.
But before we dive into that, I'm gonna get up here and I just want to shout out one other Star Wars creator, Star Wars Explained, over the weekend called out just that Lucasfilm has done more than just Star Wars, obviously Indiana Jones, but George Lucas's last film he directed, I believe, was a historical piece about the Red Tails, which is about the Tuskegee Airmen.
I love that
movie. Oh my gosh, I'm so mad at myself for not knowing exactly what they're called. I guess a squadron of all black servicemen who fought in World War II and were responsible for protecting bombers throughout World War II and their campaign in Europe. And, he highlighted that because we're kind of like facing some weird, unprecedented times. It sounds like the U.S. government might be rolling back some, like, I guess, Black history, essentially.
Government institutions.
Yeah. On top of a lot of things, there may be some erasure of Black History Month, and we're by the time this episode is posted, we will be in Black History Month, and what better time than to highlight a Black content creator near and dear to my heart, my co-host here, Matt. So I just shout out to Star Wars Explained for like putting that out there. I did watch the documentary this week. I encourage everyone to do the same. There's a movie that you can watch, and then there's a documentary narrated by Cuba Gooding Jr. that was really insightful, and I don't want these important like historical moments to be erased.
The doc was a bit older, right? The documentary's a bit, because I saw a Tuskegee Airmen doc in high school, so I was already like excited for the movie when it came out, but I don't remember if it was narrated by Cuba Gooding Jr.
I do wonder if this was released alongside the movie itself, because I believe Cuba Gooding Jr. is in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd have to double check on that.
There's a lot of people in that movie. There is quite a few big actors, big name actors in that film.
But this one it's really your show, buddy. We're going to be taking the guests through. This is really, Matt's subjective take on all of the main Skywalker films. And, we're doing this thing, but I told you that I'm adding a little bit of a wrinkle to it, but I didn't tell you what that wrinkle was.
You didn't. I was
so
for it, whatever
all right,
it is.
So we're going to go through your rankings, and I'm very excited to talk about it. But since we're going to be doing my rankings, I don't want to divulge too much about what I love about them. I really want this to be your authentic take. So before we decided to sit down and do this, I wrote down some predetermined random questions for each rank. So to be clear, I don't know what your 9th ranked movie is going to be, but there's a question I have associated with it that you're going to have to answer as we move through it. So I thought it'd be a little fun to just kind of be okay, Matt, we're going to hear all the things that you love and maybe don't love so much about these movies, but we're also going to have random questions added in for you to give to each movie as we move along through this thing. So without further ado, my friend, let's hyper dive into this thing.
So for continuity's sake, because you're doing yours after me, are we going least favorite to favorite, 9 to 1?
Yeah, right, cool. We're gonna. I want you to talk about the one you're most passionate about at the very end of this thing.
I got you.
So we're gonna go.
All right, bet. We ready?
I'm ready.
Number 9. So let me first prerequisite my list with saying there are things that I liked and or loved or love adjacent, depending on the film, about all the movies. So this isn't the 9th ranked movie doesn't necessarily mean I hated the movie. It means I liked it the least out of all the Star Wars movies. Because
I think I'll probably preface mine the same way.
just so we're clear. I was Matt hated blah blah blah. No, I didn't hate.
No, he just loved it the least. It's his least favorite child.
There's some disdain in there. Right. There you go. Exactly. It's like as a girl dad, if I ever had a son, I'd love my son, but I don't think I'd like him as much. I can say this because it's a metaphorical child. That won't happen. I am 2 and 4. 3 ain't for me. All right. Coming in, scolding hot. At number, I guess scolding cold because it'd be at the bottom of the list. But coming in at the bottom of my list, I chose The Rise of Skywalker. Would be my least favorite of the 9 Star Wars movies, mainly because of one gigantic reason. You can fully blame Game of Thrones for my hatred of Rise of Skywalker, because I'm fairly confident my timeline might be wrong. I'm pretty sure Rise of Skywalker came out after the end of Game of Thrones. I kind of actually want to look this up because it kind of.
While you're talking important. Through, I will look up for you when it happens.
Thank you very much. So, under the assumption that it came out after the end of Game of Thrones, even if it didn't, the reason why I didn't like it still is tied to Game of Thrones. So I have said here many a times on this podcast, on our sister podcast on DB4L, that pre the final season of Game of Thrones was probably my favorite TV show of all time up until season 8, because I absolutely hated how they ended that show. And this is culturally relevant to a Star Wars podcast because it is infamously known and or speculated at with a whole lot of truth sprinkled on it that David and Dan, the showrunners for Game of Thrones, were supposed to be helming a new Star Wars trilogy, and they got offered said position by Lucasfilms while they were in pre-production for season 8. And there is a long-standing rumor that I believe to be completely true that they essentially scuttled the final season of Game of Thrones so that they could rush to hurry up and do Star Wars, because Star Wars is what made them want to become TV or directors. Star Wars is what inspired them to want to get into the entertainment industry in a directorial aspect. So they got offered their dream job and just said, fuck Game of Thrones, and just scuttled the whole end of it. And it's probably the worst ending of any TV show of all time, in my opinion, based off of how the show was built up to that point. So for me, without giving away too much of my list or predated, but I guess I'll give a bit of a spoiler. I loved Force Awakens. Loved that movie. You'll see where it's at in my number on list. It was new age. I ain't gonna say too much because we'll get there when I get there on the list.
Yeah, but, Game of Thrones also did end before The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, cool. So my timeline is correct. Yeah. So I was already soured on bad endings because of Game of Thrones. So when I got to Rise of Skywalker, and I don't blame Rise of Skywalker for everything that it went through. Like, it had a gigantic tonal change with Last Jedi because the changing in directors and, you know, politics and Hollywood and all that fun shit. So there's a lot of reasons why Rise of Skywalker was the way that it was. But coming off the extremely sour grapes from Game of Thrones, I felt like a lot of the decisions that were made in the Rise of Skywalker were just like let's just hurry up and get this done type of situation, which trauma as a anime fan, prior to us finally getting validation with Bleach 1,000 Years of Blood Work, the anime, the manga of that, because the creator of Bleach was being rushed by the studio to hurry up and finish Bleach, or like to put out more content. So he has also gone on record and saying that he basically kind of like half-assed the final chapters of the Bleach manga, and it shows. A lot of the big things that were built up in that manga just came to very abrupt ends. A lot of the important things that we talked about weren't as important as they seemed to have been in the buildup, and you could see the shift. And that's why I felt about Rise of Skywalker. Again, there was so many great things in that movie. The Rey and Kylo Ren fight before he turns to Ben Solo. The callback to him and Han's Force Ghost having that conversation. Who's just like, I know what I need to do, but I need your help. I need your help to do it. And he threw the lightsaber away. I loved all of that. Yeah, Ben Solo had like doing the Han Solo shrug and getting to use the blaster, and Adam Driver's luxurious hair just blowing in the wind. You know? Or when he did the giant force jump and like landed on the chain gate and was like, ow. Like all of that. So there were great things in the Rise of Skywalker, but it just the delivery fell flat for me. The kiss between Rey and Ben at the end, hated it. Felt like it should have been more of a cousin thing. I would have taken a kiss on the forehead. The lip on the kiss on the lips. It was just like there wasn't. Yeah, they had like that moment where he didn't have a shirt on in Last Jedi. So, can you put a shirt on? Like, but there wasn't like
touched fingers. That's like as close as you can get to having sex in Star Wars.
I hear you. There was more sexual tension between Luke and his sister. Like way more sexual tension between Luke and his not only his sister, his twin sister. They shared a womb. Like, and I just felt like it was super undeserved. Shout out to Rey because she felt the same way as me. The ruiner.
It's true.
Finn being force sensitive, they did nothing with that. You know, I just felt like John Boyega and Finn got shafted with the last two movies, because Finn was, for all intents and purposes, like kind of like, obviously because they didn't want to give to something that Lucasfilms is really good at, is they don't give away the movie in trailers like a lot of people do. So, but Finn was like pretty much the lead in all the promo leading up to Force Awakens. Like he was on the poster. Him igniting the lightsaber was like the big like leave you guessing image, and then like Rey ended up becoming the star, which I was totally fine because again I love Force Awakens, but like Finn just kind of got set to the side in place of Ben Solo, you know, and it is what it is. But yes, that would be number 9 on my list.
I think that's fair. I was like, where's he going with this whole Game of Thrones thing? Benioff and Weiss didn't have anything to do, and then you were like, I see. It was at a time in your life where you were like, I really need them to stick the landing, and they just did not quite stick the landing. I hear you. There are good things in that movie, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Let me give you my random question for your number 9 ranking for the 9th Skywalker film.
Lay it on me, Daddy.
Who is your favorite character in this movie and why? I think you may have laid it out already, but
my favorite character in Rise of Skywalker, I would go Ben. I would go Ben Solo.
I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, his again, Kiss set aside, his story arc is probably my favorite arc in the sequel trilogy. Just, you know, like being the antagonist and then a anti, or what you thought was about to be an anti-hero in Last Jedi, but actually no, like dictator, douchebag, asshole, and then turning into the hero, and just again like that scene with Han is like probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, when they do that callback to that father-son speech and he tosses it away. And then him showing up as Ben Solo, you know, ready to be a scruffy looking nerf herder Jedi out here. It's just the tits.
It was super fun. It was. That's definitely like one of my favorite parts of that movie too.
Yeah, and him wielding a blue lightsaber just felt right. Just felt like the right choice to have him wield a blue lightsaber. That was a pretty awesome for sure.
Oh yeah.
Coming in.
Let's move on.
Moving on
number 8.
To number 8. The is predecessor before or after? Before? After? Whatever the correct vernacular for predecessor, if it's not predecessor. But to Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi is number 8 on my list.
Okay.
Solely because Last Jedi as its own movie, I liked a lot. The part where damn, I forget what her name is, but the general who sacrificed herself for the rebellion to get away. Yeah, when she did the hyperdrive shit through the First Order, I thought that's
one of my favorite shots in all Star Wars.
I know there was like a whole subsection of the Star Wars community that was like, that's not how hyperdrive works. I don't give a fuck. Like, that shit was hot to me. Yeah. I remember, like, I saw that in the movie theater with my brother Jordan. Shout out to Jordan, in front of the pod, and the whole theater simultaneously let out like an audible gasp at that part, because they dropped the music when that part happens.
It's completely silent.
Just completely silent. An actual accurate vacuum of space.
Yeah, it's also a good point for me to be like, "Hey, Jordan," because he's a friend of the pod. So I'll just in the silence that you just dropped there for me, I'll break it.
Boom, perfect. Yeah. So Last Jedi as a standalone movie, I enjoyed. Kylo and Rey fighting the Imperial Guard. That shit was awesome. They're with their fucking laser whips and chains and shit, and just in the noise that the buzz noise that those weapons made was fire.
We didn't talk enough about how the Praetorian Guards kind of got a second life in the Mandalorian, but yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, it was, and having them come back was awesome, because that felt like a Knights of Ren, like, oh damn, these guys could have been fire, and like if you kept using them, but they just were using that one moment. But similarly to my things that felt important prior to weren't important anymore did rub me the wrong way, but I know that was because of the director change. Like, literally a whole different person took over Last Jedi, and this is the image that he wanted. So Rey, I feel like, and I'll die on this hill, that had JJ stayed the director, Rey would have been a Kenobi. I just feel like that just makes the most sense. When Rey has her awakening, she hears Obi-Wan's voice. Like, that's like the main voice that she hears when he's like, Rey. Alex, shout out to Alec Guinness. So I just felt like it was kind of set up for her to be a Kenobi. And then when Rian Johnson took over, he wanted to make her a nobody, which, I like making it like, anybody can become bigger than their circumstance and become like a hero could be anyway, and which is
a great moral to a story, but I hear you're coming from
1000%, and that was highlighted by the little broom boy who force pulled the broom on a Canto Bite at the end and everything, sweeping up the stables just to make like, hey, anybody can have the Force, like you don't have to be from this powerful lineage of Jedis that we all know about, and we've talked about all the time, like we like when they break away from Skywalker dogma. It's just I didn't like it done in this way because it literally erased the first movie, which I liked a lot. So Last Jedi is low on my list as a victim of circumstance more than the movie itself, because I did enjoy the movie. I wasn't necessarily a fan of I do like Luke being a curmudgeon and a hermit because he's been isolated for so long, so I get it, but just we went through so much to get him that lightsaber, and for him to just toss it off that damn cliff, I was just like, this isn't the shock value I like. Because I knew at that moment, I was just like, I don't know what we're in for, but it's not the sequel to Force Awakens. Like I kind of was already on like my back foot when that moment happened. I was like, what the fuck is about to happen in this movie? I was very, very confused. And then killing Snoke, I feel like Snoke could have been a really awesome character moving forward. Like, obviously, the Palpatine reveal was like kind of, I feel like everybody kind of felt he was related, not related, but like involved with Palpatine, or was like a speculative thing from the rip. But just having him like just get hacked in half, that was another thing that was just like, no way. As it was happening, I was like, there's no way he's about to kill him right now. There's no way. And then it happened. And it was another
subverted the expectations.
It did, but not in a good way for me. So Last Jedi is his own movie. I did enjoy quite a bit. There was a lot that I liked in that movie. But again, it being the sequel to Force Awakens, I didn't enjoy it as the sequel. And again, I don't like how they benched Finn and Rose. Like Rose didn't really get much.
Totally fair. Yeah, I think that's a really fair criticism of that movie. That being said, I'm off to my second random question here that applies to this movie. When you think of The Last Jedi, what's the first word that comes to mind when you think about the movie?
Ooh. Can it be 2 words?
Sure.
Red sand.
I thought you were going to say salt.
Yeah, right. Because the
visuals of that is amazing.
That's my favorite part of the movie. Like the visuals.
Yeah, I love it.
Was my favorite. And the detail that they teed you up that Luke wasn't really there the whole time. Mm-hmm. But you don't realize that until after you realize he wasn't there. Because my man, he shows up with a haircut. He shows up with a dyed beard. He shows up with the lightsaber that we know for a fact was just
got ripped in half.
Ripped in half.
I remember seeing that and being like, "What a continuity error!" And then when they revealed that he was a ghost or that was just a force projection, I was like, okay.
I felt the same way because I was just like, I was so in the moment of like Luke and Leia being reunited, him winking at 3PO and everything. You don't even realize that he just pulled out a lightsaber that we know just got yanked in half, and it was just like you don't even because even though that's a fun conversation that we can have or on a different episode, like what color saber is Luke more synonymous with, green or blue? Like I feel like that's another debate that we could have at one time. But I feel like there's no wrong answer there. So for the people who like Luke is synonymous with the blue lightsaber, you just kind of, of course he has his saber on him, even though we know that he shouldn't have had it. And then the fact that he wasn't leaving any footprints like on the salt was another like cool, if you didn't realize. So
lots of rewatchability with the third act of that movie.
Yeah, 1,000%. And the third act of that movie was probably the best part of the movie. But I feel like that would probably also lead as to why it was lower on my list, because like it took to the end for me to like really be like, all right, now here we go. Like now I'm on the ride. And I feel like something that Star Wars does really good, even though like chronologically in the movie doesn't ever really always make the most sense, but like Star Wars is usually pretty good pacing wise. They usually do enough throughout the movie to like keep you engaged. Like it's for sure. A Star Wars movie is like it's a roller coaster ride. It's an experience. It's like, oh, you're going up, and then you drop, and then you turn, and then you twist, and then it's over, and it's just like, whoo, we're all better for the journey. Friends become enemies, enemies become friends.
Enemies become friends. We're all for the journey. They might be playing weird guitar sounds as you're like flying.
Last Jedi for me probably was a Star Wars movie that I did feel like did have some pacing issues, because like that whole Canto Bight shit I could have done without that entirety. Benicio del Toro, who I love as an actor, could have did without his whole thing, because
totally fair.
He had no point. That whole
his whole point was don't join.
Right. But I feel like that whole subsection, the whole reason why they were there was to find whoever this great mystery character was. And then it's just like, and we don't even get a confirmation that that's if he actually was that person. Like, he's not.
He's not. Yeah, he was the guy. He's the guy wearing like the white tux.
Yeah,
he's played by another actor. I just can't think of who.
I know exactly.
I mean, obviously, he's played by another actor, but like
no, I know you're talking about.
Someone
he's in mad shit. Yeah, he's in mad shit. I just can't think of what his name is either. But yeah, so like that whole thing kind of like took me out of it. But yeah, that would be number 8. Moving right along to 7. This might be a surprise pick, but I feel like you will actually appreciate it because it's lower on my list. New Hope is number 7 on my list in terms of Star Wars favorite movies. It's the OG. I don't really have anything like bad to say about it. I guess maybe just like the era in which it was made. It was a groundbreaking movie. No one had ever seen anything like it before, but being a kid who lived in a time where like Star Wars was the catalyst for so much of the shit that I liked as a kid. It was just like, oh, this old sci-fi movie is cool and everything. And like, if you really go back and watch New Hope, not a lot really happens in that movie. It's a
to use a Yoda quote.
Yeah, please.
We are what they grow beyond. And I could say that is every Star Wars movie that has come. Yeah, every Star Wars movie that has come out after A New Hope. I know why people love it.
You know what New Hope is? New Hope is the movie that either your parents and or your after school program that you went to threw on because they was just like, hey, kids should like Star Wars. Let's throw on some Star Wars. And it's just like someone else put it on and you was like, oh, this shit's kind of dope. But it's just like, I feel like the allure of New Hope as a kid watching it years after it came out is that there were 2 more movies for me to watch with these characters. So it's not, it's like, oh shit, it's a trilogy. Oh, it's a continuation. Like, oh shit, this is cool. But yeah, like, but when you put New Hope up against, you know, Empire and Return, it's just like,
not even close. Yeah. Like, well, it's funny because it's like, for the people who experienced A New Hope coming out, right?
I'm sure they were blown the fuck out their socks.
Right, because it was the first thing of its kind. But for people like us who are like the second generation of fans who got to grow up with it, you're right. There was 3 of them. So, and I think you've said this a lot before, but for some reason when we're younger, we always think like the later one is the better one for some reason.
Like I think like Secret of the Ooze as a kid, you were definitely like, oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 is better than the first one.
And even Turtles in Time, which we know is not better than the first 2, is we were like, oh, this movie's amazing. And it's like, was it though?
Yeah. Was it? Hey, Yoshi. I'm like, that's not Casey Jones.
Yeah, no, I hear your reasoning on that, and I could obviously expand. I could talk about it all day. Yeah, I think that it's fair to put this that low on your list. I'm sure there's a lot to love about the other movies, so I'm sure you will end up going higher. But my random question for you on this one is, you're plopped into the climax of this film. How fucked are you?
The climax? I'm not. I'm at an award ceremony watching 3 people get medals.
That's not the climax. The climax is the Death Star battle.
So if I'm on the Death Star, I'm fucked. like I'm super fucked. Like I don't survive that if I'm on it.
The question is, are we plopping you into an X-Wing or are we plopping you into a TIE fighter?
I'm definitely in an X-Wing. I'm definitely part of the rebellion for sure. Like for sure. I'm Lando. Rogue One. I'm Lando. So I'm fucked as much as my piloting skills are in said scenario. But considering as I can tend to be an obsessive personality with things that I really like, I would imagine I feel like I'd be a pretty dope X-Wing pilot, bro. And I would definitely fly. Right. And we said this before, I would fly the A-Wing because that's my favorite ship. And
fast.
Them motherfuckers is fast. I'm fast as fuck, boy. So you gotta catch me. So I think I'd be cool.
The lone A-Wing escaping that battle. There weren't any A-Wings in the battle, but Matt would have been in an A-Wing.
It would have been me. It would have been me. It would have been an MATT wing. Would have been lit. Number 6 on my list, Phantom Menace. We're entering in the realm of I've liked all these. It's just some I like more than the others. So Phantom Menace, that's another one, much like New Hope. Really great movie. But then when the other 2 came out, it shows like the deficiencies in the movie. You know what? I'll say a big thing, hindsight, and this is happening in real time as we're having the conversation. Being older than I was when I obviously saw the original trilogy, I didn't realize how much politics was in Star Wars until I saw Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And as an adult, I love it. As a kid, shut up and swing them lightsabers.
Yeah, you were like, what the fuck is a trade dispute?
Yeah, like, you know, the separatists and all that shit and like Newt Gunray. I was just like, I don't get any of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it sounds good.
I know that we talk a lot about how like the trilogy as a whole is just it's the poster child for being made better by a Star Wars animation project.
Yeah.
But how much better is the Phantom Menace when you go back and watch now that Tales of the Jedi have come out?
Oh, dog. So like, bro, right? Even just with like just Star Wars, just Rebels, Mandalorian, just all the other Star Wars shit that we've gotten since the Phantom Menace makes the Phantom Menace better. But I feel like, you know, a lot of people put Phantom Menace high up on the list solely because of Darth Maul. But it's like, you take that fight out of that movie, not much happens in that movie. It's funny how and this could be totally intentional or accidental. I feel like all 3 separate Star Wars trilogies, the first movies kind of mirror each other in terms of like plot, pacing. This is more of a layup for the next movie when shit hits the fan. Like it kind of goes like what New Hope is to Empire is quite literally what Phantom Menace is to Attack of the Clones. Like in terms of just like throwing the oop for more crazy shit to go down. The Empire, even though you don't know that they really won at the end of Attack of Clones, they won at the end of Attack of Clones because Sheev's plan is finally taking root. Can you imagine? Since do you have a question for Phantom Menace?
I do. I have a question for everything.
Give me that question before I go into the next
this one isn't a layup for you, but what is your favorite scene from this movie?
I feel like I want to give a not standard answer, which would be
because I figured like I wrote all these questions for like the place of the ranking, not for the movie.
No, I love
like
this, actually.
I mean if you chose like the Duel of Fates, I'm not going to be upset. Like that's kind of a layup. But if you maybe your second favorite scene then.
Oh, okay. All right, so I will. All right, I'm gonna go Duel of the Fates, but I'm gonna specify the part in Duel of the Fates where, matter of fact, real quick, because I feel like a Mandela effect thing happened. I could have sworn, like gun to my head, bet my bank statement that what I'm saying is a fact. I could have sworn in the final moments of that fight when they're running through the ray shields, I swore Obi-Wan got stopped multiple times. Like it wasn't just that one stop.
Is definitely.
I swear
it happens twice. It happens twice because Qui-Gon is meditating and Obi-Wan is out further, and then Qui-Gon gets let through and Obi-Wan gets stopped again at the very last one.
And I swear I remember having like twice. I thought I remember happening like a third time. Like I feel like I swear that scene felt, maybe just as a kid in sense of time, but I swear that scene feels.
There's so much happening in that third act that it probably did feel way longer. Because I don't disagree with you. I could have sworn that like
there was like an extra stoppage, like a third stoppage.
But there's not. It's just 2, I think.
I swear it was 3, but I digress. But to answer your question, that's why I wanted to ask that question, because the scene where Qui-Gon's meditating and Darth Maul's just pacing back and forth like a caged tiger, just ready to pounce, and Obi-Wan is just like, "Fuck, I need to sprint as soon as these shits get up."
Yeah,
that I just remember, even as an adult, and I know what's gonna happen, I'm still just like, "Oh, it's about to go down."
It's so funny how like you can like we're not even watching the movie, but in my head I can hear
the scene. Yeah.
Man, so good.
That specifically is my favorite part in that whole movie. Just Maul just not breaking eye contact. Just like he's just like, ooh, he said, "Ooh, old man, just wait till these laser beams, this gate goes up, these ray shields go up."
Thanks for like narrowing it down, because there is a lot that's going on, but like that scene is something that like it's vivid.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan kept getting Obi-Wan. This is something that I just didn't realize that I didn't notice. He is prone to getting kicked.
Like, he is prone to getting kicked.
Like if you kick him, it just throws him off his square. Like he never sees it coming. So many of his greatest battles, a kick gets thrown in there, and he just like, "Oh shit, what the fuck? What just happened?" But all right, next on my list, next movie up, Attack of the Clones. That's my 5th favorite movie. Again, we're in the territory. My 5 is like, I love them all. Just I love some more than others. But the question that I was going to ask you before we moved off of Phantom of the Menace. Fuck it. Phantom of the Menace, name of this episode.
Dude, that's what Rachel calls it. So I'm so glad that you're saying that.
Look, name of this episode.
She's going to hear that and be like, "Oh, that's what I call it."
Name of this episode. But I was going to say, could you imagine being Sheev at the end of that movie when the clone troopers are like, well, the first end of the movie, because the wedding's the end of the movie. But could you just imagine being Sheev just on that balcony, watching the clone troopers just go back into their ships to just go to wherever the fuck that they're about to go? Well, we know where they're going because the Clone Wars TV show. But could you just imagine, like, he's been putting this plan into motion for years. Who knows how long? But we know that it was we know that it was pre-Anakin's birth. Like we know that it was pre all of that. So it's like, could you just imagine? Because like the clone troopers were obviously like that was the checkmate. Like getting the clone troopers like put into position to be able to betray the Jedi was like the final move to eradicate them all. So like, could you just imagine him just on that balcony and he's just like, I made it. I finally got to it. Like this is what I've been waiting for.
It's about to go down.
Yeah, just there with the breeze just blowing his very stiff, slicked back hair, and then just like he's up there with Obi-Wan and Mace, and they're just watching the clone troopers just go off, and they're just talking their blind, ignorant Jedi, like, oh yeah, they came in handy. Like these guys can fight. Might want to keep them around. And he's like, begun the Clone Wars has, like, and all that. And she's just like, yeah, bitch, because I put this shit in motion.
Meanwhile, this is like Sieb's favorite thing is just when you watch that back and they're on that balcony and it's Palpatine with a bunch of the senators, Bail Organa's up there, and he just like really like pensively like it's like looks like he's supposed to be like punching like the balcony, like he's pissed off or upset, but he does it like in such a slow manner that he's just like, oh darn.
I gotta go back and watch that now. Like,
yeah, definitely look for it.
Attack of the Clones, it gave us Hayden Christensen, my guy, my Anakin, my jumper. Like I always say, if I ever fell into a vat of chemicals or was bitten by a radioactive something, I would want the jumper powers, like literally just those powers as they are in that movie. I would want for nothing. I would have no car. I would spend no money on gas. I wouldn't even necessarily need to rob banks because I would just save so much on transportation. so much. Like, I would start a delivery service. We would always be on time. It would be great.
I'm trying to think of something clever that has jump in the title, but Jamba Jump. I don't know.
There we go. Something. It'll click me. It'll click me. It'll click in my head at some point in time, which during this episode, I'm sure. But yeah, Hayden Christensen. The Naboo love theme, the Anakin Padme love song.
So
love
good.
That shit. Love
John Williams was in his bag in this movie. Like he crushed in this. And he doesn't get enough credit for it.
1000%. The fight in Geonosis, the fight with Dooku, everything. I love the scene with Obi-Wan and Dooku. And he's like trying to like woo Obi-Wan to come over to his side. Obi-Wan's like basically like, you'll suck my dick. And he's just all like, oh, it might take me a while to be able to get you out of here. but when he first walked in, he was like, yeah, I can get you out. And then he went side when he was like, might not be able to get you out. I just love that part. But yeah, Attack of the Clones for sure. This one we literally that iteration of the Star Wars universe, so that was legit the beginning of the end of the world as we knew it before the Empire took over. So everything about that was awesome. Again, hindsight, Hayden Christensen gets his flowers, but I feel like we were the vocal minority that loved his performance back then. Everybody was just like, oh, too angsty, he's so emo, it's trash, like, oh, they could have got someone else. And like, no, perfect casting.
Always my Anakin.
Yes, always will be my Anakin. Do you have a question for the fifth spot?
I do. If you could change one thing about this movie, what would you change?
Hayden Christensen. I'm just playing. If I could change one thing about that movie, what would it be? I would have loved to see Jango Fett put up more of a fight. Even though I know,
I think that is totally fair.
Yeah. Even though I know they did that to show like how yoked Mace Windu was, because it's like, we only saw him sit crisscross applesauce all of episode 1. He did absolutely nothing. So like, it
feels like he kind of goes out like a bitch without any of the I don't know, like it's like we see all the fanfare of him fighting Obi-Wan, and it's like they could have made it just a little bit more
even in the fight with Obi-Wan, he was getting his ass kicked. Like it took his son having to cheat for him in the Slave 1, like for him to like not even win, escape. Like, he didn't even win the fight. So it's just like, we know Boba's dirty. Obviously, it's so much more expounded by Book of Boba Fett, but like the legend of Boba Fett was always loomed very large over the Star Wars universe, even prior to seeing him in action. So you would just imagine that his dad would just be that dude. And, like, we were just all super excited. I remember, like, the promo leading up, like, fucking Star Wars Bounty Hunters. He's on the cover. So it's like Jango Fett was made to be a.
He
big
headlined
deal.
a video game.
Yeah, like he was made to be a really big deal. I love the fact that they gave him the Boba Fett costume, but different colorway. So it was familiarity, but it's like, oh shit, this one looks all clean. Boba's was all tattered and like blotchy and all this shit. We got this clean, sleek metal one. Like this is so cool.
I think we take this for granted, but it must have been pretty crazy to be someone who like heard about the Clone Wars in the 1970s and imagine what it was.
Yeah,
just to find out that Jango Fett was the template for it.
And that was a throwaway line. Like from New Hope, like that was just a throwaway line. Like nothing was ever supposed to come of it, but like they literally built, I would probably say, what many consider to be the best part of the Star Wars like Skywalker era, off of that one line. And yet, like, it's funny that you were going to say that, you just said that, because I was going to say the exact same thing. Like Jango Fett's involvement. Jango Fett is like the Wong of Star Wars. Like his involvement in like, the cloning testing has literally been a through line through everything. Like
for sure.
Like, and I wonder. I honestly think that that's one of those things that became bigger than what the creators thought that it would be. Like I'm pretty sure Jango Fett was supposed to be like a big deal, but like I think it was legit just supposed to be like, oh, he was the person that for money used his DNA for cloning. This is what the clones. I feel my initial take on it from watching it when it first came out, and then even like later in life, pre Book of Boba Fett, Clone Wars, TV shows, and like all the added lore, I just always took it as. I first didn't know the difference between like Clone Wars and Stormtroopers. I thought that the Stormtroopers were the Clone Wars, like the clones. I thought they just that they just lasted through the time, and then we know that they obviously phased them out. Great storyline, but at the time, I was like, oh shit, we never got to see Stormtroopers with their helmets off. This is just a way to put a face to the Stormtroopers that are in the original trilogy. That's what I thought it was. So I was like, oh, that's cool. They give us a face to put under all these hidden these stormtroopers that can't hit shit. Like, can't hit the side of a barn with a laser gun. But yeah, so I just took it as like, oh, this was just a really cool thing. But like, it turned into like an iconic thread that so much of Star Wars is built off of. And it's just like, hats off to Jango Fett. Hats off to the Fett family.
We're giving him the flowers. We're giving them
the flowers. You have a question for that? Jango Fett not being a bitch. That was the thing that I wanted to do. Yeah, that was it. My fourth and my third are interchangeable, but I'll just go through them how I put it off my first, because I did the list. I was like, this one might actually be more. So 4 and 3 are interchangeable. So 4, I put Return of the Jedi. Okay. For a long time, Return of the Jedi was my favorite of the 3 Star Wars films, but that was one of those recency bias type things. And I also, at a time of youth, I used to be the fuck obsessed with Wicked. That was my dude, bro. Like all the Ewok movies, the TV shows, the cartoons, like, man, I was.
That said, I'm leading the caravan of courage right now.
I was invested. Great reference. But yeah, Wicked was my dude. So I know a lot of people like hate the Ewoks, and then like as an adult, that teddy bears took down the Empire is a bit absurd, but it's a movie, like, and they had help. The rebellion was there. They had help.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah, they were there. They helped out.
Plus, have you ever played Ewok Hunt? That shit's terrifying,
bro. That's what I'm saying. So
the Ewoks ain't nothing to be fucked with, dude.
Return of the Jedi is, like I said, 4 and 3 are interchangeable. Return for a really long time. The prequel trilogy coming out, like I said, was my favorite Star Wars movie. The reveal that Luke and Leia are sisters, not me comprehending they've made out through 2 separate movies. Like, it didn't really ring bells at that point in time. But just that reveal of like a long lost sibling, I don't know why that like hit home for me. So I will tell you why. So I didn't meet my sister until 2018. I always knew she existed. We grew up in different places. So I always wanted a sister. So I have 6 older brothers. So I grew up in a household just mad testosterone. It was just my mom, and 7 boys, like, just fighting. And I was the youngest, just fighting to survive. It was like a pride. It was like a lion pride. Like it was like the scene of Lion King when Scar threw a bone to the hyenas. That's literally how we grew up. Like, but it was all good. It was love. So, but I always wanted a sister. So like Luke having like a secret sister, I guess like a part of that like touched my heart. Like, oh, I wish that I could meet my sister, which I ended up doing later in life. Shout outs to Courtney, I love you. But that, the Darth Vader turn, I thought that was great. I really also thought that there was something pre him taking the helmet off, a super duper slept on scene, I feel like, in all of Star Wars is the conversation that Luke and Vader have going up the elevator to like meet the Empire, where he's talking about, I know there's still good in you. And he was just like, oh, you be wrong, son. Like him just like referring to him as his son and acknowledging, because like pre that, Darth Vader always made it a point to like, oh, he's the son of Anakin Skywalker. Or like it was always, he kept that as a separate person. He's like, yeah, that it wasn't, oh, I used to be Anakin. It's like Darth Vader was his own entity. And he says all the time, like, you know, in Obi-Wan, that line, he's like, you didn't kill, I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Yeah. So it's just like, I feel like in the first 2 movies, anytime the conversation of Anakin Skywalker would come up with Darth Vader, it was referred to as like a totally separate person, which for all intents and purposes, it was. Even
we've gone on record saying that we even feel like they're almost different characters.
It's still like I still haven't connected that last piece to be like,
despite so much media like
Obi-Wan helped a lot. Obi-Wan helped a lot. Like seeing young Anakin in the Vader mask, all charred up and shit, helped a lot. But it's like you said, it's 2 totally different people in my head canon. So just him having that conversation and like referring to himself like in the first person as Anakin Skywalker, I felt was like, oh, it is the same. Like he is acknowledging that is the same guy. I love that part. When you see the reveal that Vader is more machine than man, even though Obi-Wan says that, that's also a line, a super slept on line, that he's more machine than man. Like that goes over everybody's head, because that reveal that he has a mechanical arm, and Luke was just like, oh, trauma bonding, I got one of those too. Like that was a big part. When he's calling, he's like, Father, when he's doing all that, and Vader's like looking, he's like, do I really want to betray this man? Like, yeah, I'll do it. Fuck it. Like, I don't even really know this kid like that, even though he's my son. I just met him like a month ago. Like, Sheev, even though he's a piece of shit, he's been like my father my whole life. Like, so just that inner turmoil, the enemies become friends, friends become enemies. Love all that. Ewoks, defeating the Empire, the re-release ending where it's Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost as Anakin returning back to his former self.
That's definitely like it works really well for our generation, not so much for the
I've seen the original one too. Like I've seen the version
with Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. With Sebastian.
No, wait. My bad. What's his name?
Sebastian Stan. He's Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but what's Sebastian something?
I forget what the actor who played Vader is.
It's funny I say that because Sebastian Stan looks like he could be.
He looks like Luke Skywalker. Yeah, 1000%. But return.
Sebastian Shaw, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Luke's glow up. Luke having the green saber. Choosing to.
It is Sebastian Shaw, by the way.
There you go. Shout out to your memory. Luke choosing to go all black with his robes as opposed to, like the traditional dread.
The tearaway has the light underneath.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Because I know they've said that the reason that they had Luke wear all black is like to make you think that he is going to like subside to. I never once felt that he was going to switch sides. Like there's nothing.
That's one of those things where
gives me that.
I can't remember. I literally can't go back to a time in my life where Star Wars has been a part of my life for so long that I can't remember the first time I watched Return of the Jedi. So
I can.
It's really hard for me to be like, yeah, I've never felt like he was going to turn because it was just like ingrained in my memory that like he was a good guy.
Yeah,
and that he never became a bad guy. But yeah, I could definitely like. It'd be interesting to hear someone's perspective who maybe thought that they were going to.
Also, to that point. Watching it as a 8, 9, 10-year-old and just know like movies were very formulaic back then. Like there wasn't really gray areas in movies. Like your heroes were your heroes, your villains were your villains. In Star Wars, for all of it, except for like Lando at the very beginning in Sky City. Like your heroes were your heroes, your villains were your villains. So like, to my memory, outside of Sloth from the Goonies, Darth Vader turning on Sheev might have been one of the first instances that I saw a bad guy go good. Like, and I'm sure that probably has happened in millions of movies prior to Star Wars coming out. Like, you know, like the
but that's like a poignant
that
one
I can remember. Yeah.
I also think that there was like, if you go back into like film history, a lot of science fiction at the time was darker, right? Like it was like the time that these movies were being made, like they didn't always necessarily have like a hero's ending, whereas like George definitely made an emphasis around the hero's journey. So maybe at the time, like the audience that was experiencing it, maybe that was like at stake for like the storytelling. But yeah, for us, I feel like it's kind of obvious that like he was never going to turn. So I definitely hear where you're coming from for that standpoint. Don't tell me you're third, because I want to ask you my question here.
I'm here. I'm ready for you.
I need you to fuck, marry, kill the big three from this movie.
Give me the big three.
Well, it's Luke, Leia, and Han, of course.
Okay. All right. Oh damn, because she's the princess, so marrying her would have benefits. Okay.
Princess of a planet that blew up, though. I mean,
hey, you're right. All right, so I'm fucking Leia. Because I feel like, because I wouldn't want to fuck Luke because he could be like a little whiny bitch. And like, you know, I want to assert my dominance. And I feel like I couldn't assert my dominance on Han. Like, I feel like he would take me. And I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I'm not a bottom. Like, there's no way for me to compare anything to it. But my spirit tells me that I'd be a top.
Okay.
So I'm fucking Leia, marrying Han, killing Luke. Yeah, because being married to that, you know, that scruffy looking nerf herd, I feel like we would live a life of excitement. You know,
you can't just be like, I'm going to Tashi Station every weekend to get power converters like that. Is that what your life is really going to be about with Luke? So,
I mean, I'd prefer to go to Tashi Duncan. Shout out to Zendaya if anybody has seen Challengers. Great movie, by the way. Yeah. So number 3, which I said again is interchangeable for me with 4, would be The Force Awakens. I fucking loved that movie. I loved everything about that movie. It was almost a perfect film for me. The one thing that I would totally not even replace, I would just usurp it from the film. That fucking roly-poly alien scene in the Millennium Falcon when Han first shows up. It literally felt like Guardians of the Galaxy. It did not feel like a Star Wars movie. It felt so out of place to me. It was like heavily CGI'd, which, you know, I'm more of a fan of practical effects, and I love that Star Wars has gotten back to that. But it just felt extremely misplaced. I feel like that scene would have been just as good without the Reptars. Like, had it just been the Koji clan? Kanta clan? What was the
tell that to Conja Club.
Conja Club. Yeah. My man. I feel like them just running into them on the ship because you know the Falcon had the beacon on it. I feel like all of that could have been exactly the same with them just running from Conja Club and trying to just escape getting shot. Yeah, the roly-polies. I'll just call them the roly-polies because I hated that part of the movie. I just remember being in the movie theater and I like disengaged from the film a bit. I was just like, I'm ready for this part to be over. Like, everything else about it, Finn, Poe, Rey's introduction is one of my favorite introductions to a Star Wars character. Her theme with the little ding 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 ding. I love it. It makes me feel like rain is just coming down over me. I don't know why. It's just like I love every second of it. BB-8, you know, so great. You know, like why does everyone want to go back to Jakku? Favorite, love it.
The Poe Finn relationship is super underrated. I know it's not like a huge part of that movie, but it's great.
We've talked about this before. Another gripe that I had with Rise of Skywalker, I hate that they inserted Rey into that friendship. Like, you don't even know Poe. Like, and I know, and I remember we had said, like, had they put something in to signify that like a significant amount of time has passed between Last and Rise, I would have been like, all right, cool. They got time to know each other. But I don't feel like movie timeline wise, much time passed.
It's only a year in between.
Yeah, so it's just like the fact that they like did that triple hug embrace at the end, it just felt really unearned. Like Poe and Finn, I was like, yeah, of course they literally have been through the shit together. Like it's just like Rey and Poe literally shared no lines of dialogue through 2 whole movies. I think they might have spoke to each other maybe one time.
At the end of The Last Jedi,
they literally at the end.
Each other. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But prior to, and now she's just part of this best friend trio, and I was like, I don't like it. Like, I don't like it at all. Especially it's like Leia was training you to be a Jedi. When would you have had time to impose on this bromance? Like, get out of here. He-Man's Women Hater Club. Get out of here, bro. I literally loved everything about Force Awakens. It was a return to Star Wars. We hadn't gotten new Star Wars in a millennia, pun intended. The build up, the cross blade lightsaber, the crackling of his shit being like fucking unstable, the mystery again. We had a new Star Wars, like who the fuck is Kylo Ren? What's his last name? How's he tie into all this? Like how they opened it up with the 3-eyed Raven from Game of Thrones. How he opened it up when he's just like, oh, hey, I know your real name. Like, and all this, like, oh, who is he? Like it was all love. The reveal, the killing Han Solo. I know a lot of people hated that. I thought that shit was a chef's kiss of a scene. How like the sun was out when he was kind of
he was vulnerable.
Yeah, when he was vulnerable, and he was just like, I know what I must do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. I feel like that was a pretty good Adam Driver, if I do say so.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and then like it went dark and he killed him, and I was like, I remember that was another audible gasp. That was the day, funnily enough, I didn't know that Chewbacca had fingers until
I also found out about Chewbacca's fingers in that movie, and I was just like, wait a second, how have we never seen Wookiee's hands before? Like,
and then you go back and you definitely see his fingers in every Star Wars
movie. But that was like, it was the first time that they like, when he's holding the detonator, and you're like, God, like,
it was like,
Wookiee
oh
hands.
shit, Chewie has fingers. I just always thought he had like bear paws. Like I just thought he's a Yeti. I just thought he had paws, like maybe opposable thumbs, like they're like mitts. I thought he had like mitts, like mittens. Like mittens on. Yeah, like that's what I always thought that he had. Damn. And we've talked about this as well. The Finn Kylo fight is one of my favorite lightsaber fights. I don't know where I'd rank it, but because it's and again, I don't want to shoot our load from past episodes because I would want people to go back and listen to it, but they really were trying to maim one another in this fight, and we've talked about like in the original trilogy, because you know limitations of the time, it felt like stage fighting. Like it was very boxy, like it was very stiff and boxy.
This one was super emotional. That's the one thing the sequel trilogy did super well, is they had a lot more emotion.
Yeah, and then with the prequel trilogy, I feel like there was an exaggerated attempt to make the saber fights look like a dance, like pretty, because it was so stiff and like exactly. So it's just like, you know, the original trilogy. This is a dead art form. These are all geriatric Jedis. Like they're not too nimble. And then they was like, all right, we're gonna show what these guys were like in their prime, and we got, you know, the best fight sequences ever, you know, through that. But like this, like you said, this was just raw emotion. Like when that scene where I was like, traitor. Like I love that, yo. Like I love that part. He's just like, yo, like you were one of my underlings, and now you working with the ops. Oh, you talking teams? And he was just, it wasn't nothing pretty about it. Kylo was just hacking at Finn. He was like, you don't know how to use this. I'm not even going to try to use any of my techniques on you. I'm just going to swing this beam sword at you until I connect with flesh, and we'll see what happens. He was punching him. Like I loved all that. I love when people who are akin to fighting with weapons remember that they also have hands and feet. Like, it's always been, I won't even call it a pet peeve. It's just my over analysis of shit. I always find it funny, like when weapon fights happen, that there's like this unspoken rule, like, hey, I won't use these other things that I can hurt you with. So it's
like the Obi-Wan kicks, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Obi-Wan's just expecting you to just like, hey, let's keep it fair. Let's keep it with the weapons. Like, let's not do fisticuffs or fisticuffs for the kids. But yeah, Force Awakens, Han. I feel like Han's involvement was perfect. I feel like it mirrored A New Hope in all the best ways. Like it took that, like ragtag team thrown together on an adventure across the space. I feel like Han was the perfect person that you needed, like an OG Star Wars person to give the original Star Wars fans a reason to like this. Maz Kanata, the introduction of her, loved it. Rey's spiritual awakening, loved what I thought it was leading to. Like,
at the time, it's like the world is your oyster. You just get introduced to this whole new cast of characters, and they're great casting. So
I remember leaving Force Awakens like, I need them to put out this sequel like yesterday. Like I was like I was fan theories. I was on the internet. Like,
it was a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I think it's like, no matter how you like, if you thought that The Force Awakens was a little too reminiscent of A New Hope, it was like just the right return to form, a fresh like reboot of the saga. It felt like, not in like a, obviously wasn't a total reboot or anything, and like there's a lot of themes in The Force Awakens that are different than A New Hope. But yeah, I definitely remember the feeling of like what the fandom was like at that time. It was just super exciting.
So all the who's Rey related to like theories and everything were like running rampant, or like the who's Finn related to like theories.
That was kind of the beginning of the end if you think about it. Now the fandom is just toxic as fuck.
It legit was. Hey, that's crazy. Didn't even really think about it like that. That was the last moment we were all unified.
Yeah.
And then it all just like went to shit after
completely splintered after people were not. You either loved or hated The Last Jedi, which is a shame because there's a lot to love and not like about that movie. But
Padme had the beat on it. She said, "This is how democracy dies," with thunderous applause.
So this question I'm about to ask you might be the hardest question.
Okay.
I purposely put it here at the third rank because I think it'd be too unfair to ask this for your number 1 and number 2 spots.
My man.
If you had to choose between never watching this movie again and never watching Star Wars animation again, that would include Rebels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch, which would you choose?
Damn, that's tough.
It's a lot of content versus one movie, but like...
It is. I only say that's tough because Force Awakens has become... It's entered into that realm of a comfort movie for me. Like I can just like throw it on and just background noise it. Like if I just want some Star Wars shit, just kind of like in my atmosphere. I almost jumped the shark on my list. But I would survive not watching Force Awakens again. I'd survive because I don't watch it as much. And weirdly, I don't know why. Maybe it was the time it came out, and I don't even remember like when it came out. But like Force Awakens feels like a Christmassy movie to me. Like I just
because it came out in December.
Okay, cool.
The December drops for the Star Wars, everything but Solo, I think, dropped in December. So it was like Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker all came out in December.
Gotcha. Yeah, like Force Awakens, like it's like I legit only throw that on like when it's cold out. Like it's not like a summertime thing that I'll throw on.
It's the Star Killer base of it all.
Yeah, I need that brisk air, bros. To watch that movie. But yeah, there's way too much dope shit animated wise, like that I would just watch like outside of that. Yeah. All right. Number 2 on my Number 2. Some regard this as the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. I put it number 2, Empire Strikes Back. Nothing bad to say about this film. Like I feel like it's a pretty face value.
It's kind of a perfect movie.
It is. Empire Strikes Back is just everything about Empire Strikes Back is fire. Billy D. Williams joins the Star Wars family. I feel like because the "No, I'm your father," not Luke, I'm your father, Mandela effect. I feel like because the "No, I'm your father" is such an iconic moment that it completely overshadows the whole Sky City part of that movie. which is really good.
It's really good. Yeah, like really, I totally feel you. Like it's like that's like such peak Star Wars, and it's like obviously like it's like this cultural thing that like it's so obviously the whole Mandela effect of it is like, oh yeah, like people don't, even the people who don't know that like they're saying it wrong still know about that scene. If you haven't watched the movies, you've heard that phrase be uttered before, and it's like that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more in The Empire Strikes Back that make it a special movie. Like when Lando's leading them in for what they feel is a nice friendly brunch, and Vader's just at the head of the table, like that shit. 3PO in pieces on Chewie's back. The I love you, I know. Iconic. I love you, I know, iconic. Yes. Name of this episode. Phantom of the Menace, I love you, I know, iconic. Name of this episode. But yeah, there's just so much about Empire. I also will say that the scene with Luke, and I almost called him a Wampa. It's not a Wampa. What's the snow yeti's name? It's the Wampa. Oh, it is. I got it right. Tauntaun is the Tauntaun's the scene of Luke pulling his lightsaber with the Force score. That's my favorite use of the Force score. It's so good. Yeah, all of Star Wars. Just him like closing his eyes and just pulling, and it starts to shake in the snow, and like you're like, quick before it turns around, like hurry. Yeah. Like that is my favorite use of the Force theme. They could stand to use it a little more like that, I think. Yeah, I absolutely love that scene. That might be, I won't say it's my favorite scene in that movie, but it's in contention. Like it's in contention. Just that whole thing. And I thought they smelled bad on the outside. That's another great line. There's so many quotables. From the Empire. In Empire, the couple's argument before they're a couple that Leia and Han have. Like Han. I'd rather soon kiss a Wookiee. I can arrange that. Yeah, I love all of that. Even like Han refusing to leave Luke out there in the snow, and it's like, oh, Captain Solo, you can't go out there, all that stuff, and he was just like, I'll see you in hell. Yeah. He's like, nah, bro. Like it's like that brotherhood bond, I feel like that's what like solidified like the Luke and Han relationship, because like pre that, blow this thing, look it out here, kid, and all that, and them getting the medals together and everything, but it's just like he was a smuggler for hire. He was just like, yeah, like I like the cut of your jib, kid. Like, but it wasn't really like, oh, that's my little brother. But if like in that moment, had this been the first movie, Han would have just been like, oh, he's got to figure it out on his own. I feel like that was a pretty good Harrison Ford. But yeah, just I like you said, it's a perfect movie. There's nothing bad that I can say about Empire. Dagobah. You didn't even talk about the Yoda of it all. I didn't even get to that's how good this movie was. It's so good. It's so good. The Yoda of it all and everything. I will say another slept on thing, because you didn't get it until like the novelization of Empire came out. I love the fact that Yoda did recognize R2, because I know that was like a really big thing amongst the fan base, where they were like, oh, this doesn't make sense continuity wise. Yoda would have recognized R2 and all that shit. Or even with Ben in New Hope, where they was just like, how doesn't he know R2? I don't seem to remember owning a droid. And technically, he didn't own said droid, so he wasn't being dishonest. He didn't own R2. But I know in the novelization, there's that. I think it's actually a certain point of view books where they like acknowledge it. Yeah. I remember there's like a little excerpt in there where it's just like they shared like a familiar look. I forget what the line is, but it's like something like that, where like Yoda like recognized R2, and he's a fucking senile old man who's been in isolation by himself for a really long time, so like cut him some slack. And some argue that his duel with R2 might actually be his most famous duel. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. And in Yoda's defense, most Astro droids look alike. True. Like, R2 does have a very specific colorway, but I wouldn't be surprised. I find it hard to believe, unless he's pulling a chopper and just committing massive war crimes against them. I don't think R2's the only blue and yellow asteroid droid.
that was put in production in the world. Like that'd be something.
You mean blue and silver?
You're right. You blue, silver, and what did I say?
You said blue and yellow.
Did I really? Fuck with that?
Yeah.
I guess 3PO snuck into my head. blue, silver, and white. I feel like he's not the only one that is that colorway. Yeah, I have no idea where that yellow came from. That's crazy. Hey, slip of the tongue.
It's been a long
Empire,
day, Matt. And you're also
my number 2.
You're close to your number 1.
I am.
But I got a question for you before we move on.
Lay it on me, Daddy-o.
What makes you feel most nostalgic about this movie?
I gotta go back to the Luke Wampa scene, like that. Just that. Anytime I hear the Force score, that's the scene that pops into my head. So just that, the Yoda backpack takes me back. That was always a great time. Obviously, the "No, I'm your father" was like a thing. Oh, you know what? Oh, I'm so glad you asked me this question. I have the weirdest fascination with the Luke falling down the tunnels scene from Sky City when he lets go.
Yeah.
And he's just falling down. Because I'm just like, of course he would happen to stop right on the track.
Where the thing. Yeah.
Because I'm just like, had he stopped 2 feet shorter, he could have just been chilling in that tunnel until they came and picked him up. Like he would have been able to relax, prop himself up, stop the bleeding possibly. And like I can only imagine. I just put myself in his headspace. He's like, I took this gigantic literal leap of faith. I used the Force. I found this air shaft. I'm tumbling. I finally stop. I think I can rest until my homies come pick me up, and then the bottom falls out under me.
Yeah.
and I go from resting in a comfortable tube to now being strung up on a fucking TV antenna.
He literally is like the sitcom thing. Is like, how could it get any worse? And
facts.
and then it happens.
For some reason, I just always like empathize with Luke in that scene where he's just like, damn, I had to dangle here. And it was probably cold as shit. I got to dangle here with an open wound until they come pick me up. Had I just stopped myself a foot sooner, I could have been chilling in this nice, warm, insulated tunnel and been all right. So, yeah, I often think about that scene for some reason. Randomly, it pops into my head. And I'm just like, damn, if he just stopped 6 inches sooner, he'd have been okay.
Well, if our audience has been paying attention to your answers so far, there's only one movie left for you to rank, my friend.
Only one movie. There can only be one. The one. My favorite Star Wars movie of all time, Revenge of the Sith. Again, another perfect movie for me. The banger of all bangers. It is the banger of all bangers. That also is a movie that keeps getting better as we get more Star Wars content.
100%.
It's the gift. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So many quotables. We have used many references from that movie in here in witty banter. Have you noticed the shells are still up? Sorry, Master. This is where the fun begins. Like the buzz droids, go for the Sentai. It's like all of that, bro. So, and that's literally just the opening of the movie.
The opening sequence. Yeah.
And there's also,
I'm gonna go back and help them. No, they are doing their job. We should do ours.
like Sith lords are our speciality.
Do it. You're no match for him. He's a Sith lord.
Sith lords are our specialty.
Oh, you know what? Completely underrated line, but I gotta say it. His fate will be the same.
As ours. I love that line. That was another one. Obi-Wan wasn't the one that fell victim to the kick, but Anakin got kicked, so I guess that threw Obi-Wan off. Obi-Wan's like, a kick, and he got distracted, and that's what got him force choked. Which I'm not gonna overanalyze things, but I felt that Dooku just choosing to force choke someone mid-fight would be such an effective strategy in any lightsaber fight. Why don't more people do it? Like, I know obviously if someone's coming at you full tilt, you might not have the time, but Dooku duels one-handed. So he has a free hand at all times.
True.
And he eventually did it. And I was just like, why don't more people do that? Like, if we're fighting and like you're getting and I'm on my back foot and like you might be getting the best of me, I'm just gonna choke you. I'm just gonna like choke.
I think that there's there's some canon explanations for exerting like, I guess, like your power through the Force and how it can be like really taxing. Like, for example, a lot of people point to the Phantom Menace and like at the beginning of that movie, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon like force speed run away. And it's like, why don't you do that at the end of the movie when you need to get through this barrier? And I think using it in a fight is a lot different than using it to escape. It may be like Count Dooku has to be really powerful, and he exerted a lot of energy by.
And in a Attack of the Clones, when Yoda was saving Obi-Wan and Anakin from being squished, you can tell that it was heavy. Like when he finally sets it down, he's just like, oh, thank God. Like you see like them like struggling to keep it up. So I definitely understand like the aspect of like it's a using the Force, I guess one could say, is like it's a muscle. It's like exertion, like you're exerting force, pun intended, to use it. But just that moment, because I remember it was such a oh shit, no one's ever done that moment. And even the score is just like, like when he does it, they're fighting, he's just like, force choke. And it's like, oh shit, like why don't more people do this? But yeah, no, everything about Revenge of the Sith, like literally I say we're coming in too hot all the time. Like all the time in my normal life, like just while driving, like if someone's just being too aggressive in a conversation.
It's funny, like you've been like gushing about this movie and you literally haven't even
gotten past the first 10 minutes,
the first like 15 minutes of the movie. Like there's so many amazing like things about
General
it. Like,
Grievous. I thought you'd be taller.
Yeah. A fine addition to my collection.
General Kenobi. Like there's just so much about Revenge of the Sith that I love. Anakin's inner turmoil. I love the I've always been a fan of self-fulfilling prophecies. Like when the thing that people do to try to stop their vision from coming true is the thing that causes the vision to happen.
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of that. That's So Raven did it a lot comedically on Disney Channel. Like, so just like Anakin's, had he just like chilled the fuck out like everybody was telling him to do, like shit would have went totally different. Even with Padme, it was just like, like I'm not gonna die. Had he just believed her, she wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
Like she was like, I'm not gonna die in childbirth. I got this.
Believe women. Moral of the story.
Moral of the Star Wars all led up to that. Believe women. Facts. But yeah, Battle of Heroes. I love the fact that it's named Battle of Heroes because Anakin didn't think that what he was doing was wrong. He felt that the Jedi, in my mind, the Jedi are evil. That whole final scene is probably, in its totality, that's probably my number one scene. The Obi-Wan Anakin speech before they get into the fight, only a Sith deals in absolutes, like all of that.
Even though
you want to take her from me?
Yeah.
You have done that yourself. You have allowed this Dark Lord to twist your mind until now you've become the thing you swore to destroy. Do not lecture me, Obi-Wan. I do not.
I see through the lies. I see through the lies of the Jedi.
I love that part. I do not fear the dark side as you do. Like I don't know why you put emphasis on you do like that, but it makes me laugh every time. But yeah, all of that. The let her go, Anakin, the you're with him. Because it's like, when you see it at face value is one thing, but then when like you look at it in like a deeper rooted meaning, like knowing all additional Star Wars lore and all the shit that led up to that, and then when you add in the last episode of Clone Wars, that like him and Ahsoka had that meeting, he gave her new lightsabers, and that was the very next time that she ever saw him again. After that, he was like actually Darth Vader, like the scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan when he was just like, I've been impulsive, I've been reckless, and I love that part because like Obi-Wan's not like disagreeing with anything, he's just like shaking his head like, yeah. Like,
yeah, you sure have.
I love that part because it's like, it's so powerful to me that when they say their goodbyes in that scene, they're literally saying like their final goodbyes. Because like, that's the last time that Obi-Wan Kenobi has a conversation with Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. And I love that the framing of it is Obi-Wan is standing in the light and Anakin is standing in the dark.
Yeah. The
foreshadowing where their paths are taking them.
Yeah, and then even the goodbye, my old friend. Like even that, it's just like, oh, because I know where this is going. Because I remember like, and you let me know if you kind of felt this way too. Like, you go into Revenge of the Sith, even now as an adult, I still watch it like
hoping that Anakin will make turn.
Hoping that, bro. Like
I know
when they're having that conversation, it's like, goodbye, my old friend. May the Force be with you. Like doing all
that.
He
is like, truly the epitome of a tragic hero. Like you'll. I don't think anyone will ever write it better. It is what it is. Like,
and it's so crazy. It's like the part that like really like what makes these movies have such crazy replay value and like you get something new out of it like almost every time you watch it. Like if you go through, and we've talked about this, if you go through like Anakin's like trajectory from Attack of the Clones through Revenge of the Sith, it's like they set him up to fail.
Yeah,
at almost every turn. Like it's like, and not only did they set him up to fail, it's like they knew that they were putting him in positions to fail. Like in Attack of the Clones, when they sent him out, like Obi-Wan knows that he's been fantasizing about this woman for 10 years. Like he tried to one up you in the meeting. Like he tried to embarrass you where you had to like, my young Padawan, my very young Padawan. Had to hit him with that, like, oh, hey, watch your fucking mouth. That's essentially what he was saying. Like, just like you know that this kid has authoritative issues. You know that he's been fantasizing about this girl. On the ride up in the elevator, you see that he's sweating bullets. He's stressed out. He's a horny teen. And like Obi-Wan tries to jump in front of it. I love the part where he was just like, she was excited to see us. Like, I love how he threw himself in it. Like, he's like, relax. She was excited to see us. And like, bitch, I ain't worried about you. I'm worried about me.
Yeah.
So it's just like, then you send them off on a secret mission together to her home planet where she's going to be comfortable. She even says to the security guard where he's like, oh, I'd be more worried about her trying something. Like, they're sitting there joking about it. Like, he's like, I hope he doesn't try anything. I'd be more worried about her trying something. At that moment, I would have been, as his master, I'm like, yeah, come back. No. Never mind. Bad idea. My fault.
No.
My bad. Bad idea. Bad idea. Either I got to go with you or we got to send somebody else. Plo Koon, you busy? like send a female Jedi like with her to protect her or something. Like something. But so it's just like,
well, Matt, even in a galaxy far, far away, sexuality is a spectrum.
You're right. Sending someone who's not sexually attracted to her, like regardless of gender, would have probably
Oppo Rancisis.
Yeah, you know, like probably
he's just a snake man.
Yeah, probably would have just been a way better idea, or you know, keep her in the temple. That would have been something. It's like
a lot of Jedi protecting her there.
All the Jedi would have been there protecting her. But everything about Revenge of the Sith, Battle of the Heroes, we've debated, you know, whether Duel of the Fates or Battle of the Heroes. Which one do you like more? Battle of the Heroes is my favorite Star Wars score of all time. My favorite fight. Everything. I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you. Like, I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over. The part where it's like Obi-Wan gets so frustrated that he has to keep having this conversation. Like, he's just like, bro, how don't you see what I see? And he just like snaps, Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil. He's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, kid? Like,
yeah.
He's like, this dude is evil. Like, clearly. Like, I just love that he was so fed up. And then I know it was something that was fan theorized that was eventually confirmed, maybe not even 2 years ago, that Anakin trying to get the better of Obi-Wan on the high ground was literally him knowing the story of Obi-Wan beating Darth Maul and him being able to catapult over him and winning regardless of the high ground. So Anakin was a victim of his own hubris. But, you know, Obi-Wan, as we know, is a bit of a storyteller. He probably was piping that shit up. He's like, yeah, you know, he had the high ground on me. Thought it was curtains. Thought it was Clayton's.
It's a poignant moment, Matt, because he's like, he used that move to defeat somebody, so he knew how to defend against it.
Exactly. And I would like to think that Obi-Wan intentionally, like, hey, I have the high ground, don't try it, wink wink, knowing that Anakin don't like being told what to do. And he would try it.
I know this is not going to surprise. I've been uncharacteristically I guess quiet talking about this. It's hard for me not to jump in and have my piece, but this is it's I was gonna say, this has been your list, and it's just great to kind of hear all these things that you love about all these movies. It makes me want to go and watch all of them right now.
I might throw Revenge of the Sith on when we get
off the phone. There's no way I'm not going to put on one of them at least to fall asleep to tonight when we're finished recording. But I still do have my random question for this one. This one's hopefully a little fun for you. But you're tasked with creating a Lego set inspired by this movie. What's the set?
Ooh. Okay. Shit. I'm gonna go. I don't know the name of the planet, but where Obi-Wan fights Grievous, that
Utapau?
battle droids.
Oh, like thousands. The big thousands. I love
thousands of them.
What does he say? 10th level.
10th level. Battle droids. Thousands. Just whatever levels 1 through 9 are. I want that whole tower. And then the 10th level would obviously be where
just all battle droids. It's
all
just
battle droid pieces.
Yeah.
And it would come with Obi-Wan's speed. It would come with
Boga, the Baractyl. Yeah,
it would come with him. Commander Cody would be there to shoot him down.
Oh, Commander Cody, we love Commander Cody.
I feel like his steed should have like magnets on the feet, so you could like stick it to the side.
I like this. Okay.
Like how he was running up the thing, you know.
You know how they like the old Lego commercials would have like that weird narrator guy, and it'd be like, "Press the button to knock the Boga off the wall."
1,000%. 1,000%. I feel like the bottom of it could be like, you know, water resistant, so you could like add water to it. You know, Obi-Wan fell in the water. You know,
Matt, I am fully on board for this. That sounds like a gigantic Lego set, but
it would be so big, yo. Like
I'm in.
I want it at completion. I want it to be 3 feet tall. That's what I would want.
And if you catch us going pachoo pachoo, it's definitely not Matt and I playing with our Legos.
Just for shits and giggles, each level leading up to the 10th would have little fun Star Wars Easter eggs on each level.
Love to see it. You love to see
fun
it.
Things. Little fun things. But yes, I'm so happy that we finally got to do this.
Yeah, you've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm really happy that you got your chance to share with the world your Skywalker Saga movie rankings. I'm sure we'll find other things to rank as well, and I have to do mine at some point. But it has been an absolute, genuine pleasure, Matt, to hear your thoughts on these, where they stand. I think we'll have to put out a post on the socials with the actual ranking and be like, Matt's ranking, like go listen to the episode, check this out. So if you have come to listen to us after seeing that post on our social media, we really appreciate you checking us out on Annie, Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
And, so Matt and I have been doing this for quite some time. We can be found on Instagram at the letters ANI Are You Okay Pod. But we also have a sister podcast where Matt is also a co-host with our good friend Troll Toll Trav, where they cover all things Dragon Ball and anime related. That is Dragon Ball for Life. And you can follow them on Instagram at DB4L_pod. That's the letters DB, the number 4, letter L _pod on Instagram. We don't really use Twitter anymore. But hey, we're doing social things where you can listen to us on your favorite platforms and whatnot. Feel free to interact, reach out to us, where you'd be happy to talk all things with you in our nerd stratosphere.
Absolutely.
But Matt, without further ado, why don't you, this has been your time to shine. Why don't you give us a special closeout here, and we'll call it a day.
I got you.
At Annie, Are You Okay?
Before a Star Wars podcast, before I close this bad boy out, I just wanted to say, as this episode releases in February, not the timestamp us, but it's relevant here. We are officially in our 3rd year of doing this podcast journey together. And I know this has been my episode, so I've been talking quite a lot, but I would always be remiss if I did not praise you, Sir Mikey Campbell, for
all
the work that you do here on this podcast and all our other podcasts and all the future endeavors that we have coming up. So I want to thank you for inviting me to hop on this crazy ride with you, because when Annie Are You Okay was in its beginning stages, I was just a fan. I was just a super fan. Shout outs to the OG Cash. Shout out to Siebes. Shout out to Siebes, the great disruptor. Shout outs to the brother. But yeah, I was just a fan, and we bonded over this shit. And I can say that you are one of my closest friends, good sir.
Oh, absolutely. It's crazy how these things turn out, but it's like from chatting about things just on random Instagram messages to becoming like truly partners in crime in our podcast endeavors has been
we are the
a pleasure.
Dean and the Qui-Gon Mitchell, the Star Wars scene, baby.
Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
You pick them too. Don't make it weird. We both have the same jersey of one of the players. So.
That's true. That's up to you to find out. We'll see.
Exactly.
We're probably going to get the other player too. We'll just wait for next year. Maybe it'll be a Super Bowl patch jersey. Maybe
that's our tradition. Every time we make it to the Super Bowl, we just get a new jersey. We get matching jerseys. That'll be our ongoing tradition. But Annie Maniacs, as we head into our third year of doing this together, and Annie Are You OK's continued success, it's like we always say here in a galaxy not so far away, it could be a Eagles Super Bowl win. It could be, damn, not many words rhyme with win.
Could be Anakin being a Jedi having sex with Padme is a sin.
Oh, okay. I'm liking where we're going here. It could be,
I don't believe in God, so why don't you get it in?
Oh, okay. It could be rhyming words weekly. It's starting to wear me thin.
Now that we're such good friends, Matt, I consider you my kin.
Oh, coming on this podcast was like a dream to me. So you're my Jinn.
We have a lot of friends who are addicted to nicotine. Pop them a Zin.
Oh, some would say we out here changing the world, coming through like a tornado, Wizard of Oz, 10 man's made of 10. Or, as always, it could be your better half, my dear friend, Ray. Life can be a motherfucking beach.
Sure can.
But as long as there is no grounded up, rooted sediment known as sand, Anakin J. Skywalker will be okay.
Be okay. Make the force be with you, Matt.
And with you,
J. Skywalker.
The J stands for Jedi Master. And we out.